Christ described matter, consciousness, vibration. I didn't know this was going to take me here. And now it seems like everything is matter, consciousness, vibration, and frequency. And it's important as we read along to understand what these are. And it says matter is whatever is visible within the universe and is mind consciousness made visible. So matter, and this is, let me go back because why he was talking about this. This is after um, he fed the people with the loaves and the fishes. He's trying to explain to them back then how he was able to do this. And he's telling them that matter, the fish, the loaves, us, the trees, anything is made visible, it's just matter. That's what matter is. And and it is not only that, but it's mind consciousness. I know it's real windy today. It's not only that, but it's mind consciousness made visible through the vibration of modes. And the only reason why it's, and it means vibration of modes. It's modes, it's particles. So that's where the consciousness come from. When we talk about mind, we're talking about our consciousness. We're also talking about spirit. We're talking about um, mind, consciousness, and spirit. So those words are used interchangeably. So, and if you hear me say mind or consciousness, that's what we're talking about. And it says, why things made visible? Because they're vibrating. They're vibrating at a certain frequency. These things are vibrating at a certain frequency. That's why they're able to made visible. And it says changing in vibration and frequency can only take place by the mind and the consciousness energy. So it was the mind, is consciousness that changed the matter, and the matter was the. And how did he change the matter? Was he multiplied the fishes and the loaves of what he has? So that is what he was explaining. So changes in the vibration. So as I said before, everything is vibrating at a certain frequency, and it's only the energy. It's your thoughts, it's your mind, it's your consciousness that can change this matter, change the things that you see, you know. So you can take it to a higher level, that whatever we want, it has to start in the mind. To take that, if you want healing, and even if your sickness comes because of the energy of the mind, whatever is going on inside the mind is creating your reality. It's creating your reality. So that's why we have to be mindful of our thoughts, be mindful of what we're thinking, be mindful of our beliefs, you know. So those are the things that's creating our world as we see it. And because of the energy in our mind, in our consciousness, that whatever we find, area we find ourselves in today, if that's what's creating the whatever we're going through, that's what's created our mind, our consciousness, energy is creating this. So it says when one is purely out, when one is purely out when one acts purely out of a love consciousness to accomplish good for others, the only limits to the Father love work within the world are the limits which we set on Him. We are the only ones that set in limit on our Father. We with our mind. So that's why when we ask our Father for anything, we're not supposed to think how and when and where it's going to happen. We got to ask Him whatever His will is be done, because we set limits on them on our mind, because We get our mind and our consciousness from that divine Father, from that universal mind, from that universal consciousness. We get our mind and our consciousness and our thoughts from there. All right. So this is what he was saying. He was trying to tell the crowd. That's what happened. Why he was able to feed, to multiply the fishes and multiply the loaves to provide for the people that was there to do that miracle, as it was mentioned in the Bible. So we're gonna apply this to another um, thing Christ was so adamant about in the Christ letters. He talked about that we always hear that if you have faith as a mustard seed, you can remove mountain. If you have faith as a mustard seed, you can remove mountains. But Christ explained what he was trying to tell his disciples. He said, what a seed. When he talks about the seed, he said the seed is a fragment. Wait. He said the seed is a tiny entity of consciousness knowledge. When he talks up, what he was trying to explain, that the seed, that little seed, that mustard seed, is a tiny entity consciousness knowledge. That's what that seed represents. And it says it is the conscious knowledge of what will become, of the potential. And it said it is a fragment of consciousness drawn from the divine consciousness. And I just said we get our consciousness from the universal consciousness. So that when he talked about that mustard seed, that's what he's saying. It's just that he was trying to tell them that it's just a tiny entity, that tiny entity that of consciousness knowledge that has the potential to grow into that huge tree. And so do we. And so do we. We are still that fragment of consciousness that we draw from the divine consciousness, and the potential for us to do great things. We have the same potential as that mustard seed does when it's planted into the ground. So he said, it is a fragment of mind power drawn from Father mind power, which, when planted in the earth and watered, will begin to clothe itself with the visible matter, of which it possesses knowledge deep within itself. So deep within that seed, because it draw itself from that universal consciousness, that universal mind. That's what that seed is. It has knowledge of what it should become and the potential of what it can be. And so do we. And so do we. That's what he was trying to explain to his disciples. He said, this knowledge is true, it is firm, it is strong, and undeviating. Undeviating. We have to understand that this universe, I remember my deacon growing up used to talk about how God is, what's the word? God is undeviating. Everything is made up of certain laws, and it doesn't deviate from that. Doesn't deviate from the laws of the universe. Everything, including us. See, the mustard seed has to abide by that law, and so do we. And so do we. He says the self knowledge embodied in the seed is a conviction in consciousness. All of life forms arise out of this one pointed self knowledge. If conviction, a self knowledge, a conviction in consciousness, so that self knowledge is a conviction in consciousness, and that's what we were born with. We came here with that. We came here with that. He said this conviction in consciousness is what separates the inanimate soil and the inanimate soil. This is what separates the inanimate soil. Rocks form all that lives and grows upon the face of the earth. So certain things, everything has consciousness. The rocks have consciousness, the soil have consciousness, but they don't have a come with a conviction, a knowledge of identity. They don't come with a knowledge of identity because the rocks is there to just be a rock, and the earth is and the ground is there to support whatever is planted in. They're doing their thing. They don't have to grow more than what they are. So it's showing us that us, this matter us have to come with a knowledge of conviction, a knowledge of who we are. He said, where there is no conviction of consciousness or knowledge of identity, there is no growth. So the consciousness within soil and rocks remains conscious in a dormant form. So that's where we find ourselves, like the rocks and the soil right now, because we don't have any consciousness of knowledge of identity. We were born here. They said we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. But now, because we don't and why we don't have any knowledge of identity, we don't understand who we are. We don't understand what the laws of the universe is. We don't understand that everything is mind. We don't understand the power that is encased, that seed that is encased in this flesh, in this. So let's say in the mind, the power that's encased in the mind. He said the consciousness. No, he said therefore, if you could believe that in what you ask for, as powerfully as does a mustard seed know its identity, you would be able to do anything you wanted to do. So we have to know what our identity is. We have to have a knowledge of identity. Right now, we're dormant because we don't have a knowledge of identity. We don't know our potential. We don't know that in us, we are still connected to our creator. We're still connected to that universal mind. We don't understand that we take our mind and our thoughts and our consciousness from the universal mind. We don't understand that we are creating everything we find ourselves in. That things we think it's someone else or some form of witchcraft. That it's our mind. It's what we think about. We're creating this world that we're in. So if we can understand ourselves like the mustard seed does, that in it is a form of a fragment of consciousness from the universal mind lives with it, and it comes and know that when it goes in that ground and it's watered, it's going to become this giant tree. And so we too, if we have knowledge of selves, if we know that this mind is consciousness mind from our Father, and that's the energy we talk about. And if we know that everything vibrates, and if we know that everything comes with a certain frequency, and when our mind is in the right place, we vibrate higher. And when we vibrate higher, that means we come to the knowledge of God. We understand who we are. We love one another. We get out of this spirit of fear. We get out of this spirit of jealousy. The same things that Paul talked about. The fruits of the spirit is living within us. And that we know our potential, that if we believe with all our mind, that we too can accomplish anything, any seed planted in this mind. If we believe on it and we water it with our belief, and we water it by giving thanks, we water it by knowing God is going to provide our needs, because that is the nature of God, to heal, to give abundance. If you know that everything in your mind, and you stop thinking about ill health, you stop thinking about hating others, you stop thinking about how poor you are. uh, if we understand that everything is mine, that means we understand we're not dormant anymore. We understand the knowledge of identity. And if we're thinking that, and if we're renewing our mind, if we're changing the way we think, we start vibrating at a higher frequency. And that's where healing takes place. That's what Christ is going to tell you. That's where healing takes place. That's where everything you could want, that's how it takes place. We have to do the work. There is no easy way. He's trying to tell you in this word how he was able to do those miracles. And he tells us that the greater things than he did, we can do, or we are supposed to do, or we will do. You know? So this is what Christ is trying to tell us. And down here he says, if you could carry within your mind a seed, the perfected plan of your most heartfelt goals, and know beyond all doubt that it can grow and come into perfection, come into it can grow and come into perfect fruition, you would see this wonderful seed take on life of its own, which would presently manifest in your life. So this is our goal. And if you're listening to, if you come across this presentation, this is the goal, that whatever you hear, you have to practice it in your daily life. We have to understand that everything is mind. Whatever everything is mind, thoughts, consciousness, spirit, everything is mind. Everything take place in your mind. So there's someone used to say, I forgot, renew your mind, renew your mind.